Hello, 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 you guys. Welcome to Lead Grow Deepen. I'm your host, Shannon Carroll Washington. I feel like after yesterday's Lead Grow Deepen, I feel like we should just make this more regular. You guys were amazing in the chat. I am super excited to be here with you guys. As you know, we have a whole entire series that's happening this week for Juneteenth. You've seen the ads on there. If you didn't catch yesterday's, make sure you catch the in case you missed it replay of Dr. Dominique. She got a little real in there, and it got a little we definitely need to bring her back. But like I said, this is Lead Grow Deepen. We are a diversity series with ISS Guggenheimer. This series, along with others, all have the goal of leading with inclusion, growing diverse representation, and deepening our partnerships through DE&I. I just want to say, ISS Guggenheimer is a place of belonging. It is a place to be you. It's a place to be what you want to be, a place for you to become whatever, and a place for you to be a part of something bigger. If you are part of our organization and you have not checked out our ERGs, please scan this QR code. Get connected because we have some awesome events that are happening. Valor this week is starting their Flag Day series of partnering with Hiring Our Heroes. So make sure you check out the latest on that. And then also, I'm really excited about this one. There's a Pride Month webinar, Pride and Protest in 3 Stories. The invite is out for that. So if you guys have not checked out any of these events, we have so many. And yes, that is small text because I want you to hit up this QR code to see what is going on within our organization. There are so many events happening. I want to make sure that you guys are always connected, always seeing what's happening because, they're just really great stuff, including today. I have the bio of our next speaker, and the reason why you guys don't see me is because I need to read this bio because I do not want to miss anything from this speaker. We're going to jump right in. Before I introduce her, I just want to make sure that you guys know. I see you guys are in the chat. You are, putting where you're from in there. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Belfast, this is a new one. I love that you guys are here. Hey, the BK is representing. So I am happy that you guys are here. And so please put in the chat. I want you guys to go ahead and start putting ones in the chat. If you don't already have the emoji for hand clapping, go ahead and put ones in the chat now. I'm going to read this bio and I'll make sure I don't miss anything because it's just amazing. Our speaker for today is Mavis-Jay. She's a chef who wakes up every morning and strives to leave the world a little better. She's a social and racial equity activist that is dedicated to her career to fighting for food justice in Black and low-income communities. Recently, the impact of her work has been increasingly recognized by organizations that celebrate and support excellence in the industry. In March of 2022 alone, she garnered not only a feature in a collaborative exhibit between the Museum of Food and Drink and the African Center, but a Game Changer Award by the Dying Diaspora as well. She was awarded the James Beard Foundation Award for Leadership. In a previous year, she was honored as Star Chef's New York Rising Stars. She's a James Beard Chef Bootcamp alum and mentor of the James Beard Foundation's fellowship program. She can also be found as an establishing board member of the Queer Food Foundation, on God's Love, and We Deliver Culinary Council, and in the Black Farmers Fund pilot community. The list goes on and on. Her food focuses on celebrating Black American heritage, joy, and journey to reclaim Black food sovereignty. Since 2018, she's worked closely with numerous nonprofit organizations to develop curriculum offering a free, paid, world-class culinary and hospitality training to formerly incarcerated youth, culminating in a career placement. A list of experience and accolades will never give a complete description of who this person really is. If someone wants to gain insight to the core of who Mavis-Jay is, all they would have to do is ask. And what she wants to be when she grows up, her answer is always a blessing. Y'all, that was a mouthful, but welcome. I already see the applause is happening in the chat. I'm so excited. Everybody, welcome Chef Mavis-Jay. I told her I was gonna have to be super, super duper like I need to step my game up whenever I see her. So I'm gonna go ahead. Y'all, look, I got the fedora and everything. I'm ready. I was like, this is happening. I was like, hold on, I have to be cooler. Yes. You know what I'm saying? This is amazing. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely.
I just read through a whole mouthful of a bio that still, I don't even think scrapes the surface of who you are.
I mean, look, who I am, you got it. What I've done is a completely different subject, you know?
I mean, you just keep doing things and inspiring us to be better. So I'm excited for this. This is our Juneteenth series. If you guys don't know what Juneteenth is, it is a celebration of emancipation in this country, freeing people up, freeing Black people. So it is a celebration. So instead of having one conversation, there was no way that I could take 5 voices in a timely manner. So everybody gets their own half hour. So if you guys have questions for Chef Mavis-Jay, please put them into the chat. We are here and ready for it. So my first question, and I will say, take as long as you want to answer this, but what are you currently doing right now in your work, and how does it relate to Juneteenth and helping people get closer to freedom?
That's always a hard question for me. Like when people are like, "Hey, what are you working on?" It's like nothing, everything. I recently have been doing some work with the Coalition for Sustainable Aquaculture. This week, a video just dropped. Me working with Andrew Zimmern to advocate for actually sustainably farmed, sustainably raised fish in the US to create more jobs, to also be able to give people access to clean seafood. People need different protein options, like healthier protein options. For me specifically, I'm talking about, I'm always advocating for Black community. And most of the time, the fish that we get, it's either frozen or it's something that has been 90% of the food, that we have in the US is imported, because all of our some of the best seafood in the world comes from the US, but it's actually exported to other countries. And then we import like seafood that has like less regulations or isn't like as monitored. And so what we're actually eating, we're unsure of and unsure of where it came from. So if we can grow it here and do it right is the slogan, that helps us like be ensured like what we're putting into our body is actually helping us and nurturing us, instead of just, putting us on another medication, which is something I want to avoid, and something that I know, a lot of people in our communities are worried about when it comes to, our families that are getting older, right? I don't ever want to have to like start my day with a gallon Ziploc bag of medicine, and I don't want anybody in my family to either. So any project that I'm working on is probably something along those lines. I am always out and about doing pop-ups or championing other causes. Earlier this month, I did a pop-up at a place in Brooklyn called Art Shack, which is a nonprofit ceramic studio that like gives scholarships to kids like in Bed-Stuy to like learn and practice their art, and it's just, what can we do just to uplift communities? I'm always, anything that's gonna push us forward, I'm like, yes, let's go. Just like when you called, I said, yes, let's go.
I know. And I was like, guys, she's going to talk to me. I'm like super excited about this. I was like, can I just have a lifelong friend that is Chef Mavis-Jay? I'm just saying. So you just dropped a mouthful, partnering with Andrew Zimmern. Like, World Ocean Day was last week. I don't know if you guys celebrated. So this is very just like relevant. Thank you for your work. Yeah. Good old fish. It's hard to find. Salmon is very expensive. Just saying. I didn't know that it gets exported. So
our salmon in the US is like legit some of the best salmon in the world exported, because other countries are willing to pay more for it. And fish is a bigger part of their diet, right? Like, so like we go through a lot of cows, and the emissions for that is terrible, Yeah, no. And like another thing, when we talk about freedom, like some of the biggest ways of like post-emancipation that Black folk were like earning their freedom and building wealth for themselves in the South, that was oyster farming. That was a big part of it. nowadays you don't see too many of us out there, and the stories are still being told, and they're starting to gain a lot more traction, of younger people going back to like being comfortable and like reclaiming those experiences, evading like letting the land be a traumatic experience, and instead of like being reconnected with it and communing with it. And like oyster shucking competitions, they are a real thing. There's like the food Olympics, right? Oyster shucking is definitely 100% its own competition and titles that people take. And year after year, it's Black people, because it's like something that has been in our story for so long. But yeah, like our access to waterways, has also been taken away from us, our access to land. And as we need to, as we start to reclaim that and fight for that and fight for ways to fund for that in our communities, like we have to like continue to uplift farming.
I mean, I just feel like I should be taking notes when I talk to you, because like the things that, like, I'm still on the fact that we have some of the best salmon in the world and it gets exported. But like the fact that salmon could answer questions like my community's health, the health of the planet, all these things, like why is it not a priority in this country to just be like, hey, oh, that's not our diets. We don't eat that much fish here. Why not? It's literally coming from our waters into the rest of the world and not so much here. So we'll put a point in that because we'll be talking about that later in another conversation on Lead Grow Deepen. But we have a question for you that came up, and everybody, if you have questions in the chat, please put them in here. Sherry wants to know, what inspired you to pursue your career and your passion with this important work?
Selfishness, survival. I needed to eat. When I first started out cooking, I was like, woo, I'm going to be the best chef and I want to do the best ingredients. And the funny part is when you get to cooking in elite spaces and cooking with like legitimately the best ingredients in the world, you look up and all of a sudden nobody looks like you. And then the dining room doesn't look like you either. And it's like, ooh, I don't know if this makes sense. I would go home and try to cook for my family, but finding parsley was impossible. Finding green beans that weren't limp and halfway wrinkled was difficult. And that weighed heavy. It weighed heavy on me, and I really started to think about, was I just trying to be a chef? Like, was that just about my ego and about me being cool, right? If I'm just being like, how do we redefine what the best is, right? Because if it's, I have the best flavor, but I'm a horrible leader, am I the best? If I have the fanciest chairs in the dining room, but none of my cooks have healthcare, or, they got all their teeth are falling out of their face, or they're, hungry, or the way that I'm running my kitchen is, essentially leaving them with like hypertension and eating disorders, then that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like that can't equate to the best. And so I have really been on a journey to like figure out what that means for me and what leadership looks like for me. And a lot of my work now is about creating space for myself 100%. But I'm also like, I think there was a time where Black people would be like, oh, we got one in the door. And I was like, thank God we got one, right? And then we would be like, okay, let them get to a certain point, and then they'll come back and do some other stuff. And like, for me, the second my foot's in the door, I'm like busting a hole in that door so that like other people can come in. Like, so other people can like, let's figure this out, because we need more people in this space, right? I'm not holding out for that, oh, just one, or we only need two in the room. And I'm not trying to fight the other person in the room, because I need as many of us in there as possible, right? We're not a monolith. I need to understand your experience. I am a coastal baby, right? Like, I've always been on the coast. I don't know what it's like and what the experience of people are like in middle America. I've never lived that. I need you to come bring your perspective in this room. I need you to tell me like what your actual lived experience is, instead of listening to other people who have assumptions what the solutions are. And so those are the things that, have really like listening to people and listening to what the issues are and trying to find solutions are what navigate my career today.
I'm sitting here and I'm in awe of you because I'm just like, you guys, I've met Chef in person, okay? And what you are feeling in this video conversation, I have felt through and through. I haven't even eaten her food, and I'm already just like, out whatever is in front of me because of just what you exude as a person and your mindset and the perspective that you bring. The fact that we're not crabs in a barrel, the fact that you said, yeah, of course, I can come do this conversation. I can spare 38 minutes. Yes, 38 minutes, y'all. We still have 12 minutes, so get your questions in. Being able to say, I'm going to bust open the door. I'm wondering, like, bringing people in isn't easy. So I'm wondering, how does allyship come into play when you're trying to do the things that you're doing? Because trying to put it all on your back is probably impossible, but that makes it more, delicious for you because you just like impossible things.
Allyship. I'm grateful for every plug, you know what I'm saying? Like, and how do you turn that into turn that into an opportunity for somebody else? I think one of the biggest obstacles that I have, or one of the things that I've learned, is that when you're inviting people into the space, you have to take into consideration their background and where they're coming from and what they're going to need to be successful in this room. Just because, like, I'm not going to say by no means am I set up for success to walk into every room that I'm in, but like, I have a mindset and was raised with a mindset to be like, hey, you're different. This isn't just for enjoyment. You need to understand what's happening in this room and how to navigate it, like how to get in and get what you need, but also how to get out of it too, right? In a safe manner without all of a sudden losing, a limb or, a piece of your soul. And that's always been very important. And so while I was brought out with that armor and nurtured with that armor, how do you teach that to other people? And then it's also, so when we start to teach that to other people, and if they go, you know what, I don't like that, right? And it's okay, cool. So how do I reconstruct this room somewhere else? Or how do I reconstruct a new room or a new space somewhere else that gives you the same advantages without having to worry about all the systematic oppression over here? And so that's what I think of when it comes to like people who are my allies and being an ally. I think about sharing power, right? Like when I invite you in the room, it's not to say that, to have any kind of like ownership over how you move through this room, right? That's on you. I'm not here to police you, right? Like, so that means, if I'm working with young people and they, decide they want to show up to the James Beard House in a do-rag, guess what, guys? There's Beard House. There's do-rags in the James Beard House. And like, I don't know why you would call that uncouth, because that's going to hold their hair better and protect their hair than a baseball cap would. Mm-hmm. Right? Because when you made that design, you were thinking about a certain head, and it didn't look like this. You know what I'm saying?
The baseball cap is just not gonna work for me. It's just not gonna work.
You know what I mean? Style wise or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
So so I think, pressing people to be like, when people say things don't work or like that they don't like things or that they're bothered by things, then like, why? Right? Yeah. Like, why? Can you break that down for me so I can understand what's going on, so we can actually explain why you can't change the work schedule for this woman who's been working you free for 2 years and you want her to now like move to nights, and she told you she can't move to nights because she's got kids, and you're like, that's going to cost her job. Where and you're saying everybody on your staff has to be able to have an adaptable work schedule? No, that's not how that works. Like, tell me why. Tell me why. Because if you own the establishment, if this is your restaurant, if this is your organization, then that means you're making the rules. So why is this your rule?
Yeah. We could go in so many different ways. And I'm like, look, I was like, okay, we got 8 more minutes of this conversation. So I'm going to keep it quick, keep it brief on my question side. So I'm going to go down this route. Joseph read my mind earlier I'm going to pull up this quote that I saw on your Instagram. Somebody has said it in a video: talent is distributed equally, but opportunities are not.
Mhm.
And Joseph is bringing up your work in food justice and sparked you working with ex-offenders and at-risk youth. Tell us a little bit about that, and how you were able to start bridging that gap. I mean, you spoke a lot about belonging and making sure somebody has a place. Your work with this community, like, how did that come about? Where is it at now? Like, what do you wish could still happen? Like, where can we help out?
That work stemmed from, just the idea of, like there's no like the difference between like me and like there's between me and like having multiple degrees and um and somebody else, who maybe didn't complete high school and we're both walking down the street. Us being incarcerated isn't any conversation between the two of us or anything between the two of us. It is the accuser's vision of us, right? It's not necessary. It's nothing about our humanity. There's nothing different. Like we're both on about our business. We both got families. We both got things to do and worry about. And it's just about who was standing behind a gun or who was standing behind a badge in a moment, and like what they saw between the two of us, right? And like the decisions that they made and the biases and where they come from. So it's nothing about us. Like there's nothing that's separating us, so it's about, like, I know that the biggest things that were transformative in my life are because of what I saw and what somebody made sure that I saw, like, are about what I was exposed to, right? The ideas that I was exposed to, right? And so if I come up in an environment where I got half people saying I can't, and like when I leave when I leave my house, half the world is like saying I can't, and when I come home, everybody's saying that I can. That motivates me and gives me a lot of love and care when I am like going out into the world to like do that. Not everybody has that, right? And so how do we just continue to pour into people and say that you can? Because a lot of times what's stopping people is the idea that they can't. Like it's not, there's no way. And so it's like, okay, cool. How do we break that down? Right? Like there is a way. Everything is totally doable. Like, so let's just go. I literally, like, 100%, like my ethos, everybody should be able to eat. Everyone should be able to eat. And so when you talk about people who've been incarcerated and what their diets look like and what that does to their health, like young kids with like lifelong health issues for like getting locked up when they're 14 and eating out of vending machines for 3 years straight, and then coming out, at 17 with like hypertension issues, but like looking like a healthy body. And then you spent such a formative time, like your ideas and what you're going to crave for in food have been so impacted. Mm-hmm. And it does, like, for me, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So it's just like, okay, cool. What systems can we put in place to change that? Right? Like food is something that we hope that everybody can eat, but it's a low barrier to entry, right? When it comes to actually like starting off with food. And so, or getting a server job or getting a dishwasher job, generally they're like, the barriers are pretty low and they'll accept everybody. And so then from then on, it's like, okay, if you're comfortable in this environment, what are the skills that we can teach you in order to help you be able to be an entrepreneur one day, right? What are the things that you can learn in this environment that'll help you when you want to start your skateboarding business, or like how to talk to people, how to sell things, right? What is it, when you want to do your like makeup or your lashes line, like how can we use this environment And how can we like use these real life examples and you interacting with people in order to like get you to that next step for your you know, your hair business or whatever else that is.
Well, you know, we're food people, so whatever food businesses we're doing. I just posted, or I just showed you guys a snippet of the video that talks about Drive Change. That was the organization that you worked with, incarcerated youth, that sort of thing. You can always check out Chef Mavis on her Instagram. This is where I find a lot of just really good gems of stuff. So you guys make sure you follow, send messages, whatever else. She's there. There it is. I'm gonna put this one question up because I know we're running out of time. So I'm gonna say Renisha's question. It's really good. What has been your biggest challenges, or what have been your biggest challenges with breaking barriers or obstacles, and how did you overcome?
I think that the first thing I had to learn was not to be, that it wasn't about emotion. It's just about tactics, right? Like I have to understand that the way I see the world, I think I'm right. And the way that somebody else sees the world, they think they're right. And so if I'm just getting caught up in like, this isn't fair, then then it's not giving me time to figure out what tools and resources I need in order to like get to where it is that I'm trying to go to. And I'm not trying to do it in a way that is harmful to anybody else, but I am trying to do it in a way that I don't have to worry about anybody else's opinion based on like what I look like. The biggest thing that I'm ever going to have to overcome is something that I still deal with, and something in all of my endeavors is like my own personal fear and anxiety, right? Like when I got the call that I had won a James Beard Award, one of my first thoughts was like, oh no, because you get too big in a movement and they take you out, and it's like, oh man, we might be doing something, and that means I need to make sure that I am being careful about where I'm putting my person and who's around that person at sometimes, you know, and I'm not walking into any rooms alone. And I think the other thing about that is if I get to a point where I'm like nervous about something in my head and I can't figure out what's the why or what the doubt is, then it's, for me, it's like a just do it anyway. Mm-hmm. Right? If that like my own fear is like one of my biggest obstacles, and I cannot, like, I don't have that. And it takes me a minute, and I take a deep breath, and it's like, okay, cool. So we're going to do it anyway. So what do you need to do it anyway?
Like, you guys, I don't know why I set these things for 30 minutes thinking they're going to be like super long. How are we going to fill 30 minutes? But clearly you've done it in 2.5 seconds. This 30 minutes went by so quick. Last question in 30 seconds. What are you doing for Juneteenth?
Cooking.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And if you guys, yes, if you need ideas to celebrate Juneteenth, read about it, visit a museum, be like Chef, enjoy some good food. Red food is the theme, you guys. So cook something red, send us pictures. We want to see it. Go to a local celebration, support a Black-owned business. There's so many ways to celebrate Juneteenth. I just want to thank Chef Mavis-Jay. You guys, one's in the chat. You guys are like, the full-on conversation is happening in the chat, and I love to see it. I love when you guys are engaging with us, engaging with each other. So thank you, Chef, for coming out, spending your time. Again, you guys, you can catch her on Instagram if you want to see what she's been up to. All of this entire series, like I said, we have people coming in. I'm about to lose my hat. Catch her on Instagram. There's her handle right there. Guess what, Chef? I'm talking to a friend of yours tomorrow. Dr. Veronica Womack will be here to have a conversation. You guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, ISS Guggenheimer Leap, Grow, Deepen. All of the series for this week, or all of our past series, are all on there. So go ahead and subscribe. We are out of time. So thank you for spending 38 minutes with me. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for welcoming me. I really appreciate it. You're such an amazing person and a beautiful spirit, and I'm so grateful you're in the world.
Oh, guys, I told you she was awesome. All right, you guys, have a great day. Thanks so much.
Bye, y'all.